Hi, it's Spike. I want you to meet my friend Chris. Chris is an expert in the ADA, which stands for the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Hi there.
We now want to talk about how there are many different ways to communicate and talk with each other.
Spike, you're right. There are a lot of ways to communicate. For instance, if someone is blind, which means they cannot see, they will often read Braille. Braille is a way of writing that has raised dots on paper, which can be felt or read by people who are blind or who do not have much vision.
I've seen that before. My owner is blind, and I work with him to help him get to places he needs to go and avoid obstacles and dangerous situations.
And you do a great job at that, Spike. Another way people communicate is by sign language. People who are deaf, which means they cannot hear sounds, can use American Sign Language. We're going to show you an example of this in just a moment. American Sign Language is its own unique language, where people make gestures or movements with their hands, and it means words and ideas so they can communicate or talk with other people. And just like there are different types of spoken language, like English or Spanish, there are different types of sign language. Sometimes someone who uses sign language in public will have an interpreter with them, who will speak out loud what the person who is deaf is signing.
An interpreter is someone who explains what people in different languages are saying to each other.
Let's take a look at an example of American Sign Language.
Welcome to the Scranton School for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing in Pennsylvania. Students of all ages from kindergarten through high school attend here. Sonoy King works at the school. He tells us a little bit about himself. An interpreter speaks what he signs with his hands.
I grew up at a school for the deaf. My first language is what's called Signed Exact English. And then we moved to California. My family all signed. And then I graduated from high school and I started taking ASL in college, ASL 1, 2, and 3. I started learning about deaf culture. And, I, as a deaf person, really started to develop there. And it's very challenging, yes. There were a lot of challenges. I won't say that sign language is very easy, but I really did the work.
There are many types of sign language.
Oh, there is no such thing as a universal sign language. Each sign language has its own, there can be regions within ASL. Around the world, there are different sign languages depending on the country. This place signs it different, but there is no such thing as a universal sign language. For example, I'm here in this region and I know how to sign what people in this region sign. But this is not the same as California Sign Language, for example. I've lived in California and, there are some things that are similar, but, there's definitely even regional signs in the United States. And especially around the world, if you go to Japan, Russia, Africa, all these different countries, there's definitely different signs and nobody signs two things alike.
Mackenzie Flanagan is a teacher at the school. She speaks and signs at the same time.
It's not English on the hands, and it's a beautiful language. There's poetry, there's music, there's movement, it's acting, it's your whole body, your facial expressions are part of the grammar. It's a fun language to learn.
Sonoy shows us some basic signs.
There's thank you, you're welcome, how are you, I'm fine. Those are, most popular phrases to learn first.
Another thing that can help people who are deaf or who have trouble hearing enjoy TV is captioning. You may have noticed captioning when you are watching TV yourself. Captions are the words that appear, usually at the bottom of the screen, and they show what is being said in the TV show or movie. This is very helpful for people who cannot hear, but it also can be helpful for people who can hear some things, but not everything. And sometimes, people just like to see the words on the screen to make it easier to follow what is being said. The most common type of captioning is closed captioning, which means you can turn it on and off.
How about we tell everyone one more way that people who are deaf can communicate?
Okay, another option for people who are deaf or can't hear well is for them to use a video service where they can sign into a video screen and an interpreter will understand what they are saying. The interpreter then tells that person's message to a person who doesn't know sign language. This allows a person who is deaf to have a conversation with someone else who might be from a business, government office, or even just a friend.
One term that we also want you to know is effective communication. All of the things we have talked about help people with disabilities communicate with each other. However, communication is not simply saying words. It's about using the right words too so that everyone can really understand what is being talked about. It also means a person should be able to sense the emotion behind the words.
That's right. Imagine if you wanted to tell someone that you love them. There's a big difference between saying I love you and exclaiming it with joy. For example, I love you. Compare that with saying I love you and mumbling it with no emotion, such as, I love you. When you are talking with someone, whether that person has a disability or not, the person you are talking with should be able to know what feeling you are saying your words with, so the communication is clear and easy to understand.
Great information, Chris. In our next segment, we're going to learn about service animals and more about what I do.